first scripture reading is coming from Psalm 27, verse 1, 4 through 9. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I fear? One thing I ask of the Lord that I will seek after, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he will hide me in the shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Now my head is lifted high above my enemies all around me, and I will offer his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Oh, hear, O Lord, when I cry out loud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, do I seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger, you who have been my help. Do not cast me off. Do not forsake me, O God of my salvation. Please stand for a hymn, O Master, let me walk with you. Please remain standing for our gospel lesson coming from Matthew chapter 4, 12 through 23. Now when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun, land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea, across the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light, and for those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned. From that time Jesus began to proclaim, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Then he said to me, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat where their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Church, you may be. This year, I am celebrating 25 years of ministry in the United Methodist Church. Thank you. It's been my honor to serve the Lord and to serve the church in many ways and to serve God's people. Years ago, when I first went to Bible school, I asked the principal, an old British man, what's the secret of being a successful pastor? He said to me, love the people. And he said, it won't be easy to love the people, but love the people. And church, I'll tell you that because of God's love, I survived this quarter century in the ministry. There are times I would say, is it worth it? Do I need to go through this? But God's love is amazing. It changes us. It shapes us. After all, it's only by God's love that we are saved. And it's only by God's love that Jesus would now call the disciples ordinary people, simple people, fishermen. And he says, you're going to do great work for me. Follow me, Jesus said, and I'll make you fishers of men. I'll make you fishers of people. You follow me. He could have said, follow me and you'll be my ambassadors. You'll be my emissaries, or you'll be the divine representatives here on earth. That all sounds great. But Jesus said, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men, fishers of people. I want to follow up on the message last Sunday. Pastor David said, if they ask you, what is it about your church? Come and see. Jesus said, tell them, come and see. I want us to continue on that thought of who we are. Just don't forget we have a vision and a mission statement. We have a vision for the whole church, the Methodist Church, and it's about making disciples for Jesus Christ. When we cease making disciples, or when we overlook making disciples as our job or responsibilities, then we get at each other. We begin to bite and eat up each other. But when we are so busy winning souls for Jesus, there'll be no time for backbiting. There'll be no time for parking lot meetings. All will be about is about telling of God's love. Jesus says, I'll make you fishers of men. And I think that what Jesus is really doing here is inviting the disciples into a relationship. I want to believe that when Jesus saw John, Peter, and all these other people, he had known them in Galilee. He had seen them around. Jesus had lived in Galilee for a while. He must have run into Peter, John, and these other people. He must have said hello. He must have said, maybe, come over to my place. He must have done some building bridges in relationships. So that when Jesus finally told the disciples, come follow me, they knew who he was. They knew they had some friendship with him. And that was easy for them to go and follow him. It's hard to follow someone you don't know. It takes time. And Jesus calls them into a relationship. So out there in Galilee, in Capernaum, Jesus must have known Peter, Andrew, James, and maybe built some friendships. And so when he calls them, come, follow me, they followed him because they had a relationship with Jesus. That relationship didn't end because in Matthew 28, Jesus again tells the disciples, go out, preach the gospel, baptizing in my name, and teaching them everything. I told you, Jesus has this invitational relationship. He's always inviting others to come to him. And he wants his disciples to be in that same business and relationship of inviting others. What relationships do you have? All of us have relationships. Some even have relationships on Facebook. Through the media. We have family members, we have co-workers, we have relationships everywhere. I get amazed sometimes when I run into people I have never met, and in 5 minutes, they tell you everything about them. A stranger at Walmart, and they tell you just everything, and they're waiting for me to tell them everything about them. I'm saying, wait a minute, you want me to tell you everything about me? But it's just a way of conversation. People like to talk, but it's an opportunity for us, the ambassadors of Jesus, the disciples of Jesus, that when a conversation like that it takes place, we engage, talk. But not just talk about anything. Oh, yeah, it's too cold. Oh, it's going to snow 3 inches. Oh, we haven't had any snow. It's an opportunity for us to talk about what God has done. Thank God it hasn't snowed. Thank God for the blessing of a good weather. We insert God in everything of our conversation. And in the process, we are inviting these people, the new acquaintances, to see who we are as they enter into relationship with us. We ordinary people, we become the disciples of Jesus who tell of what God has done for us. I want you to call to mind right now one person you have a relationship with. I'm not talking about your spouse, I'm not talking about your children. I'm not talking about people out there, co-workers, neighbors. You know this person through joy, maybe they had a baby. You know this person, maybe they lost a loved one. You know this person, maybe they're recovering from some addiction. You know this person because they're doing well. Think of someone you have a relationship with. And think what a difference you can make by being the light of Jesus Christ. And shining and taking care, because God wants us to take care of God's people. How do we do that? By telling them about a God who is accepting, a God who loves, a God who forgives, a God who invites all in his family. When we become Christians and disciples of Jesus, we do not automatically become evangelists. We don't automatically know how to share Jesus. It takes time. Jesus spent 1 year to 3 years training the disciples of how to go out and win souls, of how to go to be fishers of people. 1 year to 3 years training them. When Charles Wesley started the Methodist Church, he had this saying, Christians are to go to the hills, to the valleys, to the villages, to the highways, to the hedges, to the markets, to the fairs, to the barns, the villages, and tell about Jesus. You can add to that. Christians should go to the mall. Christians should go to Walmart. Christians should go to all the playgrounds, the fairgrounds, and talk about Jesus in their conversation. What is a mark? What are the marks of a good fisherman? People who know how to fish. I have to admit, I like to eat fish, but I'm not a fisherman. But I love fish. But I watch those who fish. When I get a chance, I ask them what they do, the tricks they have. One reason, you got to love it. If you don't love it, you give up, because sometimes there'll be no fish to catch. Or you may be doing it wrong. So you got to love it. So to be a fisher of people, you got to love it. You got to love to win people to God. The other point that is important to be a good fisherman, you have to have experience. And when you draw experience, you get it from the older folk who've been doing it for a long time. They will tell you all the tricks about fishing and water running. They can give you all the tips that you need to know. And so it is in the church. We learn from each other. How we invite people, how we tell others of God's love, how we talk about what God has done for us. Over time, we become experienced. You see, you got to go do it to build experience. Another important point in fishing for people, you got to be patient. Fishermen are patient. When people go out fishing, you got to be patient. You can wait and see the movement on your fish rod, and sometimes there's nothing to it. And sometimes you get like there's something in, but you got to pull, you got to bring it properly, or else you could lose it. Be patient. As we invite others to Christ, I remind you, church, that we, the disciples of Jesus, must be patient. Patient with the persons we are praying for. Patience with the persons we're inviting to the church, we're inviting the house of God. Jesus said, follow me, and I will teach you how to fish for people. As we follow Jesus, he teaches us how to love others. He teaches us how to forgive others, that when they hurt us and offend us, we forgive them even before they ask for pardon. Sometimes you'll be waiting too long, and they'll never even acknowledge the wrong they did. And yet, Jesus teaches us, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. That is a good mark of a disciple of Jesus. We walk in forgiveness every day. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Jesus taught the disciples how to pray. We got to pray for those persons we want to bring to Christ. Do you have a prayer list of people you want to bring to Jesus? I pray that you have a prayer list. People you want to bring to the church. Form a prayer, write down a prayer list, list those names, and pray for them. And patiently wait until those persons, one day, the Lord moves them to bring them in his house. The number one effective equipment that we need in being fishers of people is to love people. If we love God and we love people, we have the number one weapon and tool to win people for Jesus. How much concern do you have for other human beings? Do you care for them? Do you care that they're in God's kingdom? Do you care that they're in God's house? Do you care that they have so much love for God? Fishermen also know some hot spots where they can fish. They can tell you, now over there, don't bother. Over here, don't bother. Remember the story of Jesus when he met the disciples? They've been fishing all night, and you're telling us to throw a net over there? They say, come on, Jesus, we've been doing it all night. The hot spots. One of the hard spots for me as a pastor is when people come to me and they want to get married and they haven't been going to church. Is to remind them that they need God in their marriage. And I take every opportunity to remind the folk who are married, you really need God in your marriage. Without God, it will fail, it will collapse. You know people, you know young people, you know folk who want to get married. You know people in the community, in your circle of influence. What do you have to tell them? Do you just say, congratulations, you found each other? You can also add on, you need God in your relationship. I'll be praying for you. And as you say, make statements like that, you'll be surprised, they may turn to you and say, what do you mean? Oh, we really need the prayers. Oh, how can you help us on our journey? For those preparing to get married. Another hard spot is, of course, we know there are people who come back to church because they have children. One man came to join the church and they said, what brought you back to the church? Oh, I have children and I want them to grow up in the faith. And he said, all I want is to drop them off and then pick them up. I said, well, that's good, but you know, when all the lessons they receive, they need someone to reinforce them when they get home. So I said, why don't you also stay for the service? It's just 1 hour. I said, why don't you stay for the service while the children are in Sunday school? So you get something and they get something and then you go back and share it. Oh, Pastor, well, that sounds good. I'll think about it. The good thing, he did think about it, and he did come to the church. There are always opportunities that we can find. Another one that is very interesting is that in life, some folk get to a point where there's an emptiness. They've done everything. They got their money, they got their house, they got their kids, whatever they need they have, but there's something empty. It's an opportunity for us then to say, I know who can fill that emptiness that you feel. I know man Jesus. He can come in your life and fill you with joy and fill you with peace and turn your life around. Be ready for the conversations that you encounter as you go out today. Be ready to respond and don't let an opportunity slide by. Because God has prepared for you hotspots, places where you can insert Jesus, and God, and love, and mercy, and forgiveness. How is your hook like? Have you set your hook? Have you prepared yourself? Church, we have to be prepared. How do we set our hook? One way of setting our hook is being specific in our invitation. As we invite people, don't say, hey, would you really like to come to my church? We sometimes have a good service. Why don't you come over sometime? That's not a good hook. A good hook is specific. Would you come with me to church tomorrow? We have a wonderful service. Would you please come with me to church tomorrow? Your hook is set well. They may say no, they may say yes. But the thing of it is that you set yourself clear in what you are suggesting. The more you say it, the more you do it, the better you become in being a fisher for Jesus. God has saved us, not just for our sake alone. God has saved us for a purpose. We've been saved to save others. Church, are you following me? We've been saved to save others. We've been made Christian to make others Christian. We've been born again to bring others in God's kingdom. We have become disciples of Jesus to enroll others into Christ's kingdom. We are the church for those who are unchurched and bring them in God's house. Church, we are preparing to go to heaven, but I pray that we don't go to heaven empty-handed. That means we need to have somebody we take with. I'm not talking about your spouse, your children. I'm talking about somebody you will win for Jesus. You can go to Jesus and say, well done, welcome my servant, and we're empty-handed. We got something to take to Jesus, the Father, and say, here, I present to you the persons I shared with, your love, your mercy. Church, one of the biggest challenges that every church has is the lack of excitement, enthusiasm, exuberance. Why? Because there is no soul winning. Church, you want a church that is exciting, that there's excitement, let there be soul winning. What? Remember the story of the lost son when he came home. What happened? The father threw a party. My son was lost, but he's found. Remember the woman who lost her coin? When she found her coin, my coin was lost, it's found. Time for dancing, time for celebrating. That's what church should be. A place to celebrate. Excitement and celebration all the time. Our job is about soul winning. Our joy is about sharing with others God's love, God's mercy. You got to be a friend. You got to make a friend, and you got to bring a friend to church. Let me say that again. You got to be a friend to somebody. You got to develop that relationship with that person being friends, and then you will bring someone to the church. That was a phrase sometime back in the Methodist conference, the Baltimore conference. It talked about a friendship Sunday. Some churches even had a special Sunday to just invite friends. But you got to be a friend first. You got to make those friendships. And then you got to invite those friends to church. Make a prayer list for the people you want to bring to Jesus. Pray for them daily, that the Lord will give you wisdom and discernment, what to say and how to visit them. Build the bridges, the relationships that you need. Grow those relationships. And as you build them, time is going to come. When you invite them, let us go to church this morning, they'll come along. Pray that God would give you a divine appointment every day, every week, to run into someone and say, I want to tell you about God's love. Well, somebody is talking about the weather and not much snow this time. You can thank God. God's in charge of the weather. God has given us a break, but if the snow comes, great. But thank God He's in charge. And as they hear you chat about God, who knows what will work in their soul. Remind them of the promises of God. God accepts all people. God loves all people. God cares for every people. And there's eternal life for all those who are in Jesus Christ. This is the one thing I ask you not to do. Never be judgmental. Just because they did not do what you asked or didn't come to church, don't send them to hell. Don't get mad. Oh, I told you to come to church. You didn't listen. You didn't come with me. They are God's children. You did your job. You planted the seed. You did your invitation. Let God water. Let God nurture, nourish. And in due time, in God's time, God will prevail. Don't take it personally when somebody does not respond positively. Not everybody listened to Jesus. Not everybody believed in Jesus. All He did was to plant the seed. Do your job. As you do it, God will bless you. You may say, well, I don't know, Pastor. I can't answer all the questions they have. You'll tell them, come to my church. My pastor will answer all those questions. I may not answer everything, but I'll take it to my pastor. He will answer all those questions. As we live this morning, realize that God has called us. Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of people. You got to begin, though. You got to start sometime, somewhere, and start with your prayer list. Look at the people in your circle of influence. Look at the people you encounter every day. Tell them about God's love. Some of the people out there are not looking for sophisticated answers. They're not asking hard questions. All they want is somebody who shows care and concern. God loves you. God cares. I care. I'll be praying for you. I'll be thinking of you. You have a child who's sick. You have a condition that is difficult. I'll be praying for you. My family and I will pray for you. God is amazing in the way He transforms every situation. Church, as we live this morning, don't forget our mission, our business. God has called us to make disciples. One time I asked the church in Baltimore where I served for 3 years, I asked them, let's invite people to church. And one brother came over and said, Pastor, why do you ask us to invite people in church? Don't you like us? Aren't we, why do you make us bring us, we go, aren't we okay? And I said, brother, I love you. I love your wife. I love everybody. But we're in the business of inviting others to Jesus. It's not just about us that wants to become disciples. He sends us out to show His love, His mercy, His kindness. Let us be about the Father's business. God loves you. God has prepared you. Don't worry about what you don't know, what you know. Just show love, kindness, and compassion. As you show those qualities, God will draw these people to you. There are many people too who are going through some hardships of life. But as they see you live through these things faithfully, kindly, with patience and understanding, they will want what you have. How come you're not complaining? How come you're not whining? Say, look, God's grace is with me. God cares for me. I love it when I go to visit Jim Cougar. He tells me about his sickness. So, Pastor, I'm sick. I don't have any masters. I can't get back. He said, I'm still on the side of the living. And he smiles. And I'm saying, praise God, this man was sick, but he has a smile because he's on the side of the living. That's a wonderful testimony. We can share so much. And God will guide you to share appropriately. Wait for those divine appointments as God sets them up for you Don't miss out on them. Don't let the devil scare you. Just kindly tell God's love, mercy, forgiveness, compassion. One church father said, something is better to just show our actions of love. But if necessary, you can also talk about God. How powerful is that? That people can see the way we live and act, and they'll be drawn to God. May our words and actions bring many to Jesus as disciples. Amen and amen. Church